Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unravel the mysteries lurking in the shadows and explore the stories that send shivers down your spine. From unsolved crimes to paranormal encounters, from eerie legends to the unknown, we're here to take you on a journey into the unexplained. Every story has layers, and every layer brings us closer to the truth or deeper into the mystery. So grab a seat, turn down the lights, and get ready to dive into the unknown. This is the Deep Dive.
Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're going headfirst into some missing 401 cases. But not just any cases. We're looking at ones involving experienced hunters, people you'd think could find their way out of a paper bag, right?
Right.
But they vanish, and that's what makes these stories so unsettling.
Absolutely. These are the folks who know the woods, who are prepared for the unexpected.
Exactly. So when they disappear, well, it makes you wonder what we're missing, what we're not seeing.
It really does.
So let's start with a case that really gets under your skin. Thomas Messick, 2015, northeastern New York, seasoned hunter, goes on a short hunting trip with some buddies. Sounds normal enough, right?
Yeah, pretty typical hunting trip.
But here's where it takes a weird turn. The FBI gets involved.
See, that's not normal.
Hmm.
The FBI for a missing persons case, especially a missing adult. That just doesn't happen.
So why? Why would they be so interested in what seems like, at first glance, an open and shut case? What was it about Thomas Messick's disappearance that caught their attention?
Well, to understand that, we got to understand Tom. This wasn't some reckless city guy wandering off into the woods unprepared. He was meticulous.
Yeah, his son even said he taught hunter safety courses, always emphasized being prepared. If anyone knew how to navigate the woods, it was Tom Messick.
Exactly. So when someone like that vanishes, it raises red flags. Makes you think twice about what you think you know about the wilderness.
Right. But then there's this one detail that always sends chills down my spine. One of his friends, a guy named Joe, he told investigators that he heard something strange in the woods, something he couldn't quite place, but definitely off.
And this is where David Paulides, the guy who really put missing 411 on the map, comes in. He's looked at thousands of these cases, and he's noticed these weird, recurring details. He calls them profile points.
Profile points, like red flags, but for weird disappearances.
Exactly. Things that get dismissed at first, but when you see them popping up again and again.
They start to mean something.
Right. Like the sound Joe heard. Could be nothing, or it could be a piece of the puzzle.
A clue that something else is going on and what happens next. Well, it doesn't get any less strange. So when Tom doesn't meet up with the group, they figure he's just running a little behind. But as it starts getting dark, the panic sets in. They launch a massive search. Hundreds of people, helicopters, dogs, infrared, the whole 9 yards.
And they find nothing.
Absolutely nothing. No gear, no sign of a struggle, no Tom.
And that's the thing about these missing 411 cases. The lack of evidence. The way it defies logic. An experienced outdoorsman like Tom just doesn't vanish without a trace.
It's like the wilderness just swallowed him up. And if that wasn't unsettling enough, the FBI, they eventually met with Tom's family. And their statement afterward.
Oh, I remember this. It was chilling.
They said, and I'm quoting here, something was definitely not right, but they refused to elaborate. What did they know that they weren't saying?
It's like they hit a brick wall. The FBI clams up. The family's left with no answers.
Just more questions. I mean, what could be so not right that the FBI just shuts down a grieving family? It's heartbreaking. And it's this wall of silence that keeps us coming back to these cases, trying to find the truth.
Yeah, and it's not just the FBI. It's like the wilderness itself is holding its secrets close.
Okay, so we're left with this big fat question mark hanging over Tom Messick's case. But as we dig deeper into Missing 411, we find out that his story, sadly, isn't unique.
Sadly, it's not. And that's where those profile points we talked about, the ones David Paulides identified, they start to get really interesting, really unsettling.
Because it's like he found a pattern, a hidden language in these disappearances.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What are some of the most common profile points in Missing 411 cases?
Well, remember how Tom was separated from his friends right before he vanished? That point of separation, that's huge. Happens all the time in these cases. Almost like
something's waiting for that moment of vulnerability.
Exactly. And it gets weirder. Paulides found that a lot of these disappearances happen near granite, specifically granite boulders or rock fields.
So it's not just about being alone, it's about being alone in a very specific kind of place. Okay, now my mind's going to some strange places. But what about the people who are found? There's got to be a pattern there too, right?
Definitely. And this is where it gets really hard to explain. Sometimes their clothes are missing. sometimes they're shoes. And get this, sometimes they're found miles from where they disappeared, in places that were already searched.
Wait, so it's like they're being moved? Okay, hold on, let me get this straight. We've got the point of separation, the granite, the weird sounds some people report hearing, search dogs losing the scent, and then bodies showing up in impossible places. What are we supposed to make of all this?
That's the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
right? These profile points are like breadcrumbs. They tell us something's going on that we don't understand.
Something strange, something beyond our current understanding of how the world works.
Exactly. And the fact that these disappearances often happen in clusters, in specific areas.
Right. You mentioned those clusters earlier. Like, there are hotspots for this stuff.
It's as if certain places are, well, let's just say they're more prone to these strange occurrences. Makes you wonder what it is about those places, right?
It definitely does. And, before we go down the rabbit hole of theories, I think it's important to highlight just how widespread this is and how bizarre some of these cases are. You mentioned Audrey Kaplan earlier. Can you tell us about her case?
Sure. Audrey was a 75-year-old woman, disappeared in the Santa Fe National Forest while mushroom hunting with her husband. They got separated, which, again, common thread. But here's the thing. She was found miles off trail, naked, and the coroner said it was hypothermia.
Hypothermia. In July. In New Mexico. That doesn't seem possible.
And that's the thing about missing 411. A lot of it just doesn't make sense. It defies logic, defies our understanding of nature.
Okay, so we've got hypothermia in the desert. What else? You mentioned another case, a hunter named Mel Nadell.
Right, Mel. Experienced outdoorsman, vanished from his hunting spot, left all his gear behind, even his GPS.
Why would someone abandon their GPS in the wilderness? It's like these cases, they strip away our sense of reason.
The rules we think we know, they don't apply in these situations.
It's like we're dealing with something else entirely. It's like the deeper we go with missing 411, the stranger it gets. And this next part, well, it's a real head scratcher. We're heading to the Sierra Nevada mountains. Beautiful place, right?
Oh, absolutely. Majestic.
But beneath that beauty, there's this undercurrent of something else. Something unexplained. And it all centers around a place called the Sierra Camp.
The Sierra Camp is fascinating. It's this remote hunting camp that's been around for decades. And the guys who go there, these are seasoned hunters. Many of them have been going there for generations, passing it down father to son.
So we're not talking about some weekend warriors out for a lark. These are people who know the mountains like the back of their hand.
Exactly. And there's another thing. They have this rule at the camp, absolutely no alcohol.
Zero tolerance, which means...
They're stories. You got to take them seriously. Because these aren't drunken campfire tales. These are sober, experienced outdoorsmen who are genuinely troubled by what they've encountered.
Okay, so lay it on us. What exactly have these hunters experienced at the Sierra Camp?
So starting back in the 70s, a group of these hunters start hearing things. Strange sounds. And it usually starts around dusk, right as the sun's going down.
Creepy.
Right. The shadows are getting longer, that time when your senses are already on high alert. And these sounds start echoing through the trees.
What kind of sounds? Like animal noises?
Some tried to explain it away as animals. But the sounds they describe, it's different. Some say it was like grunting, guttural, almost like a language they couldn't understand. Others said it was metallic, like tuning forks clanging together.
Tuning forks? That's specific.
Right. And some even said it sounded like something large being torn apart. It's like these sounds were designed to be unsettling.
To get into your head. And these sounds, they weren't just coming from one direction, were they?
That's the thing. It was like whatever was making these sounds, it could move through the forest with impossible speed. 1 minute it'd be behind them, the next minute it'd be off to their side. The hunters felt surrounded, but they could never pinpoint the source.
Never saw anything, just heard these terrifying sounds all around them. Did they consider any normal explanations? I mean, sound can play tricks on you in the wilderness.
They ruled it all out. Animals, other hikers even thought maybe it was some elaborate prank. But the sounds were too loud, too structured to be anything they could explain.
So what did they do?
They recorded it, actually managed to capture these sounds on tape.
Wait, the tapes exist?
They do, or at least that's what Paulides claims. And he's interviewed some of these hunters, heard the recordings himself.
Have they ever been analyzed? What do experts make of them?
Some say it's just unusual acoustics, amplified by the terrain. Others say maybe it's an animal we haven't discovered yet. But the hunters, They're convinced it was something else.
It makes you wonder, right? I mean, we've got these missing 411 cases, these bizarre disappearances, we've got these profile points that connect them, and now we've got these strange sounds, these Sierra sounds, happening in the same kind of areas, often near where people have vanished.
It's a lot to process, right?
Yeah.
It makes you question everything you thought you knew about the wilderness.
It really does, and that's what makes this topic, missing 411, so compelling. We're not talking about easy answers, we're talking about confronting the unknown.
The possibility that there are things out there, forces at work, that we don't understand. Maybe we're not even supposed to understand.
And that's what we try to do with these deep dives, to shine a light on those dark corners, those unexplained events. We may not find all the answers, but hopefully we'll ask the right questions. Questions that make us think, that challenge our assumptions.
And who knows, maybe those questions, those sparks of curiosity, are the first steps toward unraveling these mysteries.
And that's a wrap for this episode of The Deep Dive. I hope you enjoyed today's exploration into today's mystery, and that it gave you some valuable insights to think about. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on all our future deep dives. As always, thanks for diving deep with us today. Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.